Have you ever noticed how some women seem to effortlessly draw men in? They walk into a room and suddenly all eyes are on them. Here's the thing, it's not about being the most beautiful, having the perfect body, or even wearing the most expensive clothes. These women know something most don't. True attraction doesn't start with the physical, it begins in his mind. And here's the truth that might surprise you. You're probably making the same mistakes most women do. Trying too hard, focusing on your looks, or following outdated advice about how to catch his attention. But what if I told you that the most powerful form of attraction requires zero physical contact? In this video, I'll show you exactly how high-value women create that magnetic pull that keeps men thinking about them long after they've left the room. Let's talk about the first and most powerful tool high-value women use: commanding presence. Now, I know what you're thinking. Presence sounds like one of those vague self-help terms that don't mean anything concrete, but stick with me because this is where most women go wrong. Think about the last time you walked into a room and felt insecure. Maybe you immediately reached for your phone, started fidgeting with your hair, or looked around nervously. We've all been there. But here's what research from body language expert Vanessa Van Edwards shows us. These low-power behaviors actually trigger a subconscious response in men's brains that screams lack of confidence. But high-value women? They do something completely different. They understand what psychologists call spatial claiming. When they enter a room, they take their time. They move deliberately. They're not rushing to fill empty space or nervous silence. And here's the fascinating part. Studies show that this kind of measured presence actually triggers the same brain regions in men that activate during states of attraction and intrigue. Let me give you a real example. Picture two women at a coffee shop. The first walks in quickly, hunched over her phone, immediately getting in line and fidgeting while she waits. The second walks in calmly, takes a moment to survey the room, smiles slightly, and then moves to the line with purpose. Which one do you think catches attention? More importantly, which one holds it? According to research in social dynamics, men are evolutionarily wired to notice this kind of confident, unhurried presence. It signals something they can't resist. A woman who's comfortable in her own skin. But here's what most dating gurus won't tell you. This isn't about acting aloof or playing hard to get. It's about something much more powerful: authentic self-assurance. When you truly embody this kind of presence, you're not just attracting attention, you're creating intrigue that lingers in his mind long after you've left. The best part? This is something any woman can learn. It's not about changing who you are, it's about amplifying your natural confidence through intentional presence. And in the next section, I'll show you exactly how to master this skill in a way that feels natural to you. Now, here's where things get really interesting. While most women focus on physical appearance, high-value women understand a powerful truth backed by psychology. Intellectual stimulation is one of the strongest forms of attraction, and I'm not talking about quoting Shakespeare or showing off your PhD. I'm talking about something far more subtle and powerful. Let me share something fascinating from recent relationship studies at Northwestern University. They found that men are most attracted to women who make them think, but not in the way you might expect. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about creating what psychologists call cognitive engagement. Here's what this looks like in real life. Imagine you're talking with a man, and instead of just nodding along or trying to impress him, you ask questions that make him pause and think differently. For example, if he's talking about his work, instead of the usual, "Do you like your job?" you might ask, "What's the most unexpected thing you've learned in your career?" Do you see how that hits differently? This kind of intellectual engagement does something powerful to the male brain. It triggers what neuroscientists call the reward pathway, the same system that activates when we solve a puzzle or achieve a goal. When you create these moments of mental stimulation, you're literally getting him addicted to talking with you. But here's where most women get this wrong. They either try too hard to seem intelligent, or they play down their smarts to seem more approachable. Both strategies backfire. High-value women instead master what I call curious confidence. They're secure enough in their own intelligence to be genuinely interested in learning from others. Let me give you a real example from one of my clients, Sarah. She was at a business dinner, surrounded by successful men. Instead of trying to compete with their achievements or playing the quiet observer, she started asking thoughtful questions about their perspectives on future industry trends. By the end of the night, she had every man at that table completely engaged. not because of how she looked, but because of how she made them think. The science behind this is fascinating. Studies in interpersonal attraction show that when we engage someone's mind, we create what psychologists call cognitive arousal, a state of mental excitement that actually intensifies feelings of attraction. It's like creating a mental fingerprint that stays in his mind long after the conversation ends. But remember, this isn't about manipulation or playing games. It's about genuine intellectual connection. When you master this skill, you're not just attracting attention, you're creating the kind of meaningful engagement that high-value women are known for. Here's something most dating advice gets completely wrong. They tell women to hide their emotions, to play it cool, to never let him see how you really feel. But research tells us something completely different, and high-value women understand this secret. Emotional resonance is one of the most powerful forms of attraction. Let me explain what's really happening in a man's brain when you create emotional connection. Dr. Helen Fisher, a leading researcher at Rutgers University, discovered something fascinating. When men experience emotional resonance with a woman, their brains release a cocktail of chemicals including dopamine, norepinephrine, and oxytocin. Think of it as nature's attraction amplifier. But here's the key. It's not about being emotionally needy or overwhelming. High-value women master what psychologists call emotional attunement. Imagine you're having a conversation with a man and he's telling you about a recent project at work. Most women would either just nod along or try to jump in with their own story. But a high-value woman does something different. She tunes into the emotion behind his words. For example, if he's talking about a challenging project, instead of saying, "That sounds hard," or immediately offering advice, she might say, "It sounds like you really poured yourself into that project. How did it feel when you finally broke through that obstacle?" See the difference? She's not just hearing his words, she's connecting with his emotional experience. This is where it gets really interesting. Research from the University of California found that when someone feels emotionally understood, their brain actually synchronizes with the person they're talking to. Scientists call this neural coupling, and it creates a bond that's more powerful than any physical attraction. Let me share a real story. One of my clients, Maria, was known for having men completely captivated by her, but not in the usual way. She wasn't the loudest or the most outgoing. Instead, she had mastered the art of emotional presence. During conversations, she would fully engage, not just with words, but with subtle nods, genuine reactions, and thoughtful responses that showed she truly understood what men were feeling. But here's the important part. This isn't about faking interest or manipulating emotions. Men can sense inauthentic emotional responses from a mile away. It's about developing real emotional intelligence and genuine empathy. When you master this, you create what psychologists call an emotional imprint, a lasting impression that stays with him long after the interaction ends. Think about it like this. Physical attraction might get his attention, but emotional resonance is what makes him remember you at 2 a.m. wanting to talk to you again. Let's talk about something that might seem counterintuitive in today's world of instant gratification and oversharing. High-value women understand a powerful psychological principle that most dating apps completely ignore: the power of mystery. And I'm not talking about playing hard to get or being deliberately vague. I'm talking about something much more sophisticated. Dr. Robert Cialdini, in his groundbreaking research on influence, discovered something fascinating about human psychology. We're most attracted to things that are just out of reach. He calls it the principle of scarcity. But when it comes to attraction, I call it strategic mystery. Here's what's happening in a man's brain when he encounters a woman who maintains an air of mystery. According to neuroscience research at Harvard, uncertainty actually increases romantic attraction. When a man can't completely figure you out, his brain releases higher levels of dopamine, the same chemical responsible for motivation and reward. It's like you become a fascinating puzzle he can't stop thinking about. But let me be clear, this isn't about being fake or playing games. High-value women create intrigue naturally by understanding what I call the 80-20 rule of revelation. They share 80% of themselves openly and authentically, but maintain 20% that unfolds gradually over time. It's like reading a great book. You want to know what happens next, but you don't want to skip to the last page. Let me give you a real example. One of my clients, Rebecca, was brilliant at this. During conversations, she would share engaging stories about her life, but always left subtle hints about more to discover. If someone asked about her weekend, instead of giving a detailed itinerary, she might say something like, I tried something completely new. It was terrifying at first, but ended up being incredible. This kind of response does two things. It shows she lives an interesting life, and it naturally makes people want to know more. The psychology behind this is fascinating. Studies show that when we encounter partial information, our brains naturally work to fill in the gaps. This process, called cognitive closure, creates a kind of mental tension that keeps you on someone's mind. It's why cliffhangers work so well in TV shows, and why that same principle can make you unforgettable in personal interactions. But here's where most women get this wrong. They either try to be deliberately mysterious, which comes across as artificial, or they share everything at once, leaving no room for discovery. High-value women understand that true mystery isn't about hiding, it's about the art of gradual revelation. Now we're going to talk about something that might sound simple but is actually one of the most magnetic qualities a high-value woman possesses: authentic confidence. And let me tell you right away, this isn't about power poses or repeating affirmations in the mirror. The science behind real confidence is far more interesting. Recent research from the University of California has shown something fascinating. Authentic confidence actually changes your body chemistry when you're genuinely confident, not just pretending. Your body produces less cortisol, the stress hormone, and more testosterone and serotonin. This chemical cocktail doesn't just make you feel better, it literally makes you more attractive to others. But here's what's really interesting. Men can subconsciously detect the difference between authentic and forced confidence. It's like having a built-in authenticity radar. Dr. Amy Cuddy's research shows that when someone's displaying fake confidence, they give off subtle stress signals that others pick up on without even realizing it. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this. One of my clients, Jennifer, was a successful executive who could command a boardroom but struggled in dating. Why? Because she was bringing her power persona to her personal life. Men could sense that it wasn't her authentic self, and it created an invisible barrier. When she learned to let her natural warmth blend with her confidence, something magical happened. Men started responding to her in a completely different way. Here's what authentic confidence looks like in action. Imagine you're at a social event and you spill your drink. A woman with forced confidence might try to laugh it off nervously or become overly apologetic, but a woman with authentic confidence, she'll handle it with grace, maybe even make a genuine joke about it and move on. That kind of response is incredibly attractive because it shows real self-acceptance. The psychology behind this is fascinating. When you're authentically confident, you trigger what researchers call a confidence mirror in others. People literally feel more confident and comfortable around you. It's like having a superpower that makes everyone in your presence feel more at ease. But here's the key that most people miss. Authentic confidence isn't about being perfect or never showing vulnerability. In fact, research shows that people who can acknowledge their imperfections while maintaining self-assurance are seen as more attractive than those who try to appear flawless. Now we're entering advanced territory, what I call selective vulnerability. And this might be the most powerful tool in a high-value woman's arsenal. But let me warn you, this is also where many women accidentally cross the line between creating connection and oversharing. The science behind this is incredible. Dr. Brené Brown's research at the University of Houston revealed something fascinating. Vulnerability, when expressed strategically, actually activates the bonding centers in the human brain. It's like having a key to someone's emotional lock. But here's the catch. It has to be the right kind of vulnerability at the right time. Think about it like a dance. You know those moments when you're talking with someone and suddenly the conversation goes deeper. Research shows that these moments of authentic vulnerability create what psychologists call psychological intimacy. It's more powerful than physical attraction because it creates an emotional imprint that lasts. Let me share a real example that changed how I understand this principle. Sarah, a naturally reserved executive, was having trouble creating deep connections with men. She was either completely closed off or, when she tried to open up, she'd share too much too soon. We worked on what I call the vulnerability gradient. The art of revealing layers of yourself at the right pace. Here's what it looks like in practice. Instead of jumping straight into your deepest fears or past traumas, which can overwhelm a new connection, you might share something mildly challenging you're currently working through. For example, rather than saying, "I'm terrified of ending up alone," you might share, "I've been learning to enjoy my own company more lately. It's been both challenging and rewarding." The psychology behind this is fascinating. When you share selectively and authentically, you trigger what neuroscientists call mirror neurons in his brain. These neurons create empathy and connection, and this is crucial, oversharing can overwhelm these same neural pathways and create emotional distance instead of closeness. Here's where high-value women excel. They understand that vulnerability isn't about emotional dumping. It's about creating windows into your authentic self that invite genuine connection. Dr. John Gottman's research shows that these moments of carefully shared vulnerability actually predict relationship success better than any other factor. What we've explored today goes far beyond simple dating advice. It's about understanding the psychology of genuine attraction and connection. Each method we've covered, commanding presence, intellectual stimulation, emotional resonance, strategic mystery, authentic confidence, and selective vulnerability, they all work together to create something powerful, a woman who's naturally magnetic without relying on physical touch. Think about what we've learned. The research is clear. True attraction begins in the mind. When you master these principles, you're not just getting attention. You're creating lasting impression that keeps you in his thoughts long after you've left the room. You're triggering those neurological responses that make him associate you with positive emotions, intellectual excitement, and genuine connection. But here's what makes this approach so powerful. It's not about changing who you are. It's about amplifying your authentic self through understanding how human connection really works. Dr. Helen Fisher's research shows that when women embrace these principles naturally, they don't just attract men, they attract the right men who are capable of deeper connection and meaningful relationships. Remember, high-value women aren't born, they're made through understanding and implementing these psychological principles in an authentic way. Every woman watching this has the potential to create this kind of magnetic attraction. It's not about beauty, age, or status, it's about mastering the art of genuine connection. Start small. Pick one method we've discussed today and practice it this week. Maybe it's maintaining that commanding presence when you walk into a room, or practicing that emotional resonance in your next conversation. Pay attention to how people respond differently when you implement these strategies. The power to create deep, meaningful attraction has always been within you. Now you have the psychological tools to unlock it. If you found this valuable, make sure to like and subscribe for more insights into the psychology of attraction and high-value living. Hit that notification bell to stay updated on our next deep dive into human connection and relationship psychology. Thank you for watching, and remember, true attraction isn't about what you do with your body, it's about how you engage his mind. See you in the next video.